guys do not understand the type of trauma that I went through living in a community where no one looked like me? And you think...
Hey beautiful people, how you are doing today? It's your girl Destiny here and welcome to my channel. All you are doing, hope you guys are doing fantastic. So this video is the part 2 video of the video I posted previously of the sister who was sharing a story of how she is an interracial adopted family. So apparently this sister, she's from West Africa, and this white family came to Africa, adopted her from Africa and took her to West Africa. So this whole story time is about how sharing her experience as a black child being raised in a white family, how a sister and a family sometimes gang up against her, and some of the things that made her not feel belonged in that family, even though she's the adopted daughter. And there was a part 1 of it of her explaining everything, the relationship and all that, and I didn't want that video to be long, so I cut it into 2. So this is the part 2. We're going to hear the remaining part of the story, which I'm so intrigued. I know you are. But yeah, let's go hear the remaining story of the sister. Then I'll come back and share more of my talk. But also, I want to know what you think about this conversation of a black kid being adopted into a white family, and then everything is her fault. They feel she was being misunderstood. She was being labeled as the angry black child. I really want to know what you think about that. Okay, so before we get into this video, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you're notified once I post video. We have amazing conversation and story time here on this channel, and you don't want to miss it out. Okay, with that was said, guys, let's go check it out.
Part 4 of my adoption, my transracial adoption story. So after, they had left, and my mom blamed me for not, letting, apologize to my dad. And I'm like, I didn't even know about that. Like, how was I supposed to know that I was supposed to pull him aside and apologize? Like, you set up these expectations for me that I don't know. And then when I fail, you get very upset. So fast forward, we're trying to have a relationship. I'm trying to do better. They're trying to do better. And my wedding planning started. And my mom was, she was very helpful. She helped me find a resort because we were trying to do we did a overseas wedding. And yeah, she was being very supportive, which was great to have. And of course, there was issues that started to arise in all of it. And something had happened where with my family, my parents, they had set aside a certain amount of money for each kid to have on their wedding day. And so my mom came to me. She's like, well, since you're having your wedding overseas, we're just going to use the money that we were going to give to you to pay for our travel expenses and our hotel, which left me with nothing. And I was like, interesting, because when it comes to me, there's always some type of stipulation, some type of obstacle course when it comes to what I want, especially when it comes to me being happy. And I think during this time, my parents had a hard time seeing that I was actually being happy without them. And I had found a husband that was amazing to me. And things really got out of hand when my mom was trying to get me to change the day that I wanted to get married. And she was like, no, let's have it on Friday. And I wanted to have it the next day. And Friday was Friday the 13th. And for some of you, I'm superstitious sometimes. And some of you may look at it and be like, that's not a big deal. But to me, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with moving it to the next day. Like, why can't I just have it the next day? Why does it have to be on Friday? Like, she was just pushing so hard. And she was just not understanding me. And so I got very upset. And I just was like, I lost it. And I was like, when it comes to me, there's always some type of issue. When it comes to me being happy, it's always some type of issue. And the whole thing, everything blew up. And I just felt like the whole time they weren't really supportive of me. Like, my siblings didn't reach out to me. My dad didn't reach out to me. Like, people didn't care about me. They didn't care whether or not I was getting married. Like, it was just whatever. Like, Emily's getting married, whatever. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get married. And I'm going to be happy for myself, whether you are there or not. So my family, my mom took that as I didn't want them there. I said, no, I just wanted y'all to hear me. And I said, you guys treat me like a cancer in this family, which is what it felt like. So my mom got offended by that. She's like, so you don't want us, as your family. The only reason why you would want us there is to make you look good. I said, what? I said, no, you're my family. I want you to be there. It's an important day to me. I want you to be there. And it was adamant. They all blocked me. Everybody blocked me. And nobody showed up to my wedding. Not a single family member, except for my cousin who I met in San Diego, and I had created a relationship with her. She felt so bad, and that she came. My grandma didn't come. My grandma did not come. My other side of grandparents didn't come. Nobody showed up to my wedding. On that day, I was by myself, and I thank God that my husband's family is so sweet, and they were so welcoming. So the day was actually still really good, and I was like, every single time you guys needed me to be there for you, I was there. I was there for my sister's wedding, any family function. Even when I was mad at you, I still showed up. I still showed up because I knew family was important. And when it was time for y'all to show up for me, you guys, and I feel like they took this as a moment to really, you know what, we are really just going to stick it to her. We're really going to stick it to her. And then during this time, this fallout, my mom was spreading and saying things about me, some of the worst things, and it made me look at my mom in a way that I never thought I could look at her, the things that she was saying about me. And it was so crazy, because it's just like, are you kidding me? Part 5 of my adoption, my transracial adoption, and them completely blocking me and abandoning me completely on the most important day of my life, or one of the most important days of getting married. That was not the first time that they've abandoned me. And my parents know that I struggle with abandonment issues, and my abandonment issues are just even worse now as a girl who was given up at a young age. And I understand me being given up was because my birth parents wanted a better life for me. But as a kid, you carry that stuff with you. One of the first times that my parents truly abandoned me was when I was getting into the Navy, and when I was back in high school, and I had ran away and I was living with my grandma, and they're like, you know what, we just want, we want to like bring you into the Navy, into the military, you got to join the military. And they were using it as a scare tactic. And I was like, you know what? Actually, that's not a bad idea, because I can now use this to get away from this hometown, get away from people, just get away and start my own life how I wanted it to be. And so I said, yeah, take me to the naval station, to the recruiting station, like got there, signed up for the Navy. And the nice thing that my dad did was that he helped me train really hard before I went to the Navy, which was really nice of him. And I remember, I don't know the day that I was getting onto the bus, like get ready to go to training, my mom had said to me, she was like, your father and I had decided that if you don't pass basic training, you are no longer allowed in this house. And I said, what? I'm an 18-year-old girl, don't know nothing about the world. You didn't teach me anything about the world, a job, any of that. So you're saying if I don't make it, I'm on the streets. I have to figure it out on my own. Granted, okay, I'm 18, figure it out. But dang, really? Did you say that to my siblings? My sister, who's, 19, she still basically lives at home. How is that? And I remember being in training, being so scared, like everything that I had to pass, I had focus, like just laser focus, trying to pass and being so scared. Like, I don't want to end up on the streets. I have to pass. I have to pass to get into the Navy and start getting paid and like making my own life for myself. And I made it. And I did it. I did the Navy for 4 years. I pulled myself up on the bootstraps by myself, paying for my own car, paying for my own apartment, everything, while they were helping the rest of my siblings with money. And during the time when I was talking about doing college, they told me that they were not going to help me with my college because they were already helping my sister who was already in college. And then they didn't have any money, right? And then when my brothers both were in college, they were helping both of them. But not for me. So I spent 4 years in the Navy, and I decided, you know what, that's enough for me. I need to get out. I'm going to go to school, and then just move on with my life. And I wasn't discussing it with my parents. I wasn't discussing my life with my parents on what I wanted. And they just felt like I was just telling them what I was going to do. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And they were scared that I wasn't going to make it, that I should, use the Navy as a safety net because I'm not going to make it. And here I am. All the doubt that you had on me, I made it. I'm now making this video in my own house, graduated, like life is really good for me. You doubted me, but I made it. I pulled myself out and I made it when you expected me to freaking fail. And then another time when they abandoned me, during this time when I was getting out the Navy, my parents were getting mad at me because I didn't want to move back to my hometown. And I'm like, why would I move back to a hometown where there's like hardly any black people? Why would I, if you guys do not understand the type of trauma that I went through living in a community where no one looked like me, and you think I want to come back to that? You don't understand that? How are you not understanding that? And my mom was, she got all angry, and she's talking about, oh, if you fall on your face, don't even bother calling us. And here's how I know that they were real and true. One night I had gotten my car towed, and I really did not have money like that. And I had called my mom, and she's like, no, we're not helping you out. But they had money to help my sister with her rent, though. They had money for that. And it was just a punishment of, oh, she doesn't need us anymore, so we should just like not help her at all. Like, she needs to be able to like depend on us fully. And I'm like, and I'm not doing that. And depending on y'all fully is y'all not helping me. You would not help me because there's always some type of like stipulation in all of this. So throughout this whole time, I had, I haven't spoken to my parents. I haven't spoken to anybody. I have blocked everybody, deleted everybody, because I'm like, you know what? Don't you ever call me. I'm done. I will no longer be part of a family that treats me like I'm a terrible person when I really wasn't. I was never a terrible child. I was never a terrible person. And you guys can come on here and tell your story. I don't care. But I was never a terrible child. You guys acted like I was this kid that was just ripping and running the streets when I wasn't. I had good grades, A and B's in school. Teachers liked me, didn't drink, didn't even have sex in high school. I didn't lose my virginity until like after 19 years old. I was not a terrible kid. You guys just, I don't know what it was. You missed the mark in adopting a black kid and you forgot to check your own racial bias. This is why I'm so against white people adopting black children if they haven't done the work in checking their own racial bias and their racism. Because this is the product. This is the product. So moving forward, I'm healing, I'm in therapy, and I'm talking about this stuff with my therapist. And my friend and I, who also got adopted by a white family, we decided to like start a podcast talking about our adoption story, and also to create a platform for, other adoptees to tell their stories. And the purpose of this podcast was not for me to bash my family and say adoption is bad or anything like that. It's to say, yes, adopt, but check your racial biases. Like, these are the things that you need to check. So the adoption process, not only for you, your adoptee, she can be heard, they can be heard and seen. So it's a better process, and you hearing them and you understanding them. Because take it from me, my parents did not want to hear me or understand me at all. They didn't care to hear me or understand me. They just thought I was crazy. They just thought I was crazy, to the point where my mom, she was trying to diagnose me with borderline personality disorder. She thought that's what I had. And she was just not willing to look at, no, I think y'all are doing something to her for her, to be mad and angry and just be reserved within herself. And she's not doing the things that you expect for her. And it's crazy how sometimes when you're telling the truth, people try to make you seem like you're crazy. And I have been to psychiatrist after psychiatrist, psychologist. I'm in therapy for so long, and no one has diagnosed me with that. I don't have that. None of them have. And I every single therapist, because my mom made me feel like I actually had that, I asked heavy therapists during this process, is that what you see? They're like, I don't see. No, you're not. That's not what it is. I wasn't ever diagnosed with it. So when we started the podcast and I started telling my story, and my grandma, who I thought was on my side during this whole thing, and she heard me understanding my pain, she all of a sudden started to turn on me. And she didn't like the fact that I was talking about her daughter, and she felt like I wasn't telling the whole story in any of that. Tell them what you did. You forgot to add what you did. I'm like, what I did as a child? She's like, they try to give you therapy and you didn't take it seriously. You didn't do anything like that. I was like, I was a 14-year-old kid, 14-year-old kid. Tell me what 13, 14-year-old kid can figure out how to deal with their emotions, which goes back to the adultification of a child, a black child. It's like, you didn't do anything with it. I'm like, I was 13, 14, trying to figure out how to acclimate in this environment, grieving all the things that I've lost. All of these things. I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to say what I was feeling. And you guys hold that over my head. And I appreciate they did give me help. They did, and I appreciate that. But the help I didn't take it how they expected me to. And because part of it, my therapist would tell my mother about what I told her. So of course I couldn't trust anybody. Who was I supposed to trust? So she starts turning against me. And she's like, I don't think I can support you in this. And I'm like, that's fine. You don't have to support me in this. I understand you don't have to watch the podcast. It's fine, because at the end of the day, the podcast is bigger than me, bigger than my story. It's for other adoptees at the end of the day. And she's like, well, it's revenge. And I'm like, I don't think it is. Even if it's freaking revenge, I don't care. Even if it's revenge, I don't care. And so, and then what really got me to cut off my grandma, she started going underneath the post, and my grandma started bullying me. She started bullying me. And I said, this is crazy. This is crazy. And I had to cut her off too. Part 6 of my transracial adoption story. And so after I had to cut my grandma off, and the person who I thought understood me the most, and she heard me, and she even agreed that there were times that she was like, yeah, her own daughter was awful. She used to say things like, yeah, my own daughter is very vindictive, and which my mother is. She's a very vindictive woman. So throughout the whole wedding fight, my mother made it in a way where us siblings, when something would happen, she would, put things in each other's ears about what we would talk to her about each sibling. So she kind of created this kind of like, I'm the center of all of this and I control. And she made it hard for my siblings. She twists narrative for my siblings to ever even come to me and hear my side. So nobody ever in my entire life has ever really came to me and heard my side. And even my brother, my black brother, who was also adopted, he came to me once, but then he ended up turning on me as well. And throughout this whole thing, I was living in Florida. I just moved here, and my brother, who was dating a white girl. I don't know if he still is. I haven't talked to them. Dating a white girl, and my mom was telling me how her grandparents are kind of racist, so she was kind of worried, which she had a right to. So I was like, oh, and I wasn't feeling it, and my mom was telling me stuff about this girl, and I was like, oh my gosh, wow, that's crazy. Like, that is weird. Like, be careful, mom, watch out, be careful, because I was just telling her about racism and all that stuff that she may not know. And my brother and her girlfriend decided that they wanted to come see me. I was like, yeah, come through. It's fine. Like, I want to meet her and stuff like that. Actually, let me start over. Before they said they wanted to come, my brother had reached out to me, and he was saying, oh, all of that stuff that your brother was, I told, oh, my brother was saying, oh, mom be exaggerating about my girlfriend, saying things like it's nothing like that. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I want to, come to Florida. I want to meet you guys. I want to meet her in person to actually get to know her, because I don't know the girl. And then all of a sudden the conversation stopped, and I was like, oh, I thought he was, supposed to come visit me. And I had called my brother, and I said, what happened? Like, how come you guys didn't want to come anymore? She's like, oh, mom said that out of everybody in the family, like, you're the one who hates my girlfriend the most. A girl that I had never met. I have never met this girl. And she made it so because she knew that my brother was going to see a side of me that's going to change his perspective of me. Of this whole time, how she's orchestrated how my family should look at me, it might change that view. She made up that lie. I said, why would I hate your girlfriend? The things that your mom was telling me was concerning, of course, because I didn't know. But why me living 2,000 miles away in Florida and y'all in Minnesota? How would I hate this girl? I don't know her. And my brother believed my mom. And he came back at me during the whole fight talking about, oh, you should just let this stuff go. Like, she says worse things to me. I just let it go. Like, she's just who she is. Just let it go. And I'm like, that is so interesting. You understand me the most out of everybody in this family. But you abandoned me too. You abandoned me too. And I think part of the reason why he took my mom's side is because he's done some stuff. Because my mom is vindictive, he's afraid of her, that she would say the stuff out loud and tell other people, which is a valid, freaking fear, because she's lying. She's boldly lying about me, telling bold-faced lies, going behind and telling my mother-in-law things that I had discussed with her personally during this fight, to my mother-in-law, who I did not get along with very well. Now all of a sudden, the woman that you didn't like, the woman you did not like, all of a sudden y'all are buddy. That is wild. That is wild. But I'm not shocked about my brother's behavior, because he's that type of black man that has this notion that black girls are ugly. White girls are prettier. So it would make sense that he would take the side of my sisters and my mom's side. And of course, throughout this whole being abandoned, like, of course, my sister was the first one to jump on there and, like, block me. And I'm just like, I have never done anything to you. What have I done to you for you to just hate me so much? The vitriol that you have for me is insane. Like, grow up. Grow up. Go to therapy. Because I know you have your own trauma from our mother as well. Go to therapy. And another thing that people don't talk about, like, demonizing somebody is so disgusting. When you demonize someone, they go through life thinking that they're horrible people. And the things that you've said to them, they start to kind of become that, because you've drilled that into their head. And you have no self-esteem. You don't love yourself. You feel like you're unlovable. You feel like you're garbage, because the way they discarded me felt like I was garbage. And that's something I'm really starting to, like, really work on and heal from, to know that I'm not garbage. I never was garbage. I was never a bad person. I was always a good kid. I was always a good person. I'm kind, I'm sincere, I'm loving. I'm very empathetic towards people. And even through this storytelling, I am going to talk about the good, because not everything was bad. And if they do want to come and tell their side of the story, like, give them the leeway to tell their side of the story, because everybody deserves to tell their side of the story. So after this, I'm going to create a video talking about the good things that happened, the good things that I liked, in my family, and the things that happened to me that was really good, that I really enjoyed. And one of the things I can give my mother was that she did always try to have a relationship. She did always try to pull everybody together. And with us having a relationship, she always did want to have, continue the relationship. But where the problem was, and where we just never got nowhere, is because she was not willing to take accountability. She couldn't do it. And I think part of that comes from her trauma that she has not dealt with, because in her trauma, she's just kind of been told to just forget it and deal with it. I don't think her parents ever actually, like, allowed to give her time to talk about her pain and her trauma. I can tell because of how she treats my grandma and the vitriol that she also has for my grandma. And I'm like, you haven't healed from the things that your mother did to you. And to my grandma, I'm like, there's things that I've told my grandma, there's things that you've done to her as well that you need to take up. Instead of coming at me, take that energy and apologize to your own daughter for the things that you did when she was a child. Like, no, people do. In my family, people don't want to talk about the real stuff. Like, just sweep it underneath the rug. And that was my thing. I was a very truth teller type of person. Like, if I see something, I'm going to say something. Like, something is not right, I'm going to say it. And my family, they didn't like that. Everything should just be fluffy. Talk about it in therapy maybe, but don't really dig deep and ask people to take accountability. Absolutely not. But that's not who I am. You got to talk about it. You have to talk about that stuff. Part 7, part 8, I don't remember, of my transracial adoption story. This is the video that I'm going to talk about the good, because I'm a fair person. Throughout my healing journey is recognizing the good and the bad, because that's the only way to really heal and to move on and to understand why people do certain things. And so my parents they decided to adopt 2 children from Sierra Leone, West Africa. So my parents had gone through the process of getting me, even when they were being threatened that they were gonna, be arrested and put into a prison overseas where they've never been, to a country that's like a third world country that just, the prison system is not going to be the same as America. But they decided to still go and get me. And I appreciate them for that so much, for saving me. And during this time, I was very sick. I was very sick. I had malaria. I had parasites. I had all these different things going on. And I would have definitely died. I think I would have definitely passed away if I didn't get adopted. And I could go into another series of my time in Sierra Leone, of my birth family and all that, because that's another monster in its own. So they came and got me from there. And I remember meeting my dad, meeting my mom when they were coming to get me and bring me to America. One of the first things that my dad sang to me was, "You are my sunshine." Like, "You are my sunshine, my old." Like, I remember that so well, and it's a memory that sticks with me, that I really cared. Like, I still hold that to me. I hold that with me truly and dearly. And they brought me photo albums showing me what my life was going to be like. And of course, in Sierra Leone, being in an orphanage, all you dream about is being adopted and going into this like promised land. America is seen as the promised land, money goes on trees, all of that, which is so not true. But I was so excited, and I got a family, and I was very blessed. I would say blessed to be adopted, because there were some other kids that, like, we're not adopted. We're still waiting to get adopted. And so when I came to the States, I would say I grew up my family was well off. I grew up in a suburban home, big house, like 6 bedrooms. So I had my own bedroom, and my parents, showered me with, toys and things. And my first birthday party that they threw for me, I was turning 10 years old. So because they knew I liked princesses, and I was a very feminine young girl, still very feminine. I like, pink, purples and stuff like that. So they're like, "You know what, we're going to throw you a princess party." And I was so excited. Like, they had gotten this lady who was like, she's a party planner. So they put all these stuff together. I had my friend who I started the podcast with fly all the way from California to Minnesota. And they had dressed us up. They had put makeup on us. It was like a tea party, princess tea party. Y'all, it was so fun. So they went all out on my first birthday here in the States. They wanted to really do it big. And that's one of those memories that I will always, always cherish, no matter what. And of course, the work that they did. I was in and out of hospitals all the time. I was in and out of hospitals because I was very sick. So they were, trying to make sure that I was healthy, doing checkups and stuff like that, getting rid of my malaria, getting rid of all the other parasites and stuff like that. So they made sure that I was healthy, and they finally got me healthy. They put me in therapy to help me out with my trauma, because I experienced a lot of trauma back in Sierra Leone. So that was one of those things that I'm very super grateful for. And when it comes to my father, my dad wasn't always the one to talk, but he was always very heavily involved in sports. Anything that we wanted to do with sports, he would figure out how to, make sure it gets paid for, it gets done. So anything that I wanted to do with sports, he was there. When it comes to any of my sporting, he was always there, like cheering me on. "Go, Emily, you're doing great. Go, Emily." You know what I mean? Like, that was a way that my dad and I bonded, even though we weren't really as close. But we bonded in that. And my mom would show up, of course, and support us. So that's one thing that they did for all of us siblings. They were very supportive in sports and other things that we wanted to do, that they were just amazing parents in that area. And we used to take these trips. I think the first 5 years that I was here, they were taking all of us kids to experience like all these big things, like seeing the Grand Canyon, going to Disney World, experiencing stuff like that they wanted their kids to experience. And we used to take these long road trips. That was so fun. And we took, my grandfather owned an RV, one of those like big RVs, and it's like a home inside. I don't know if any of you have been into an RV or have seen one, but super nice, super cool. So we would just take it and just go cross country. And we would, we used to stop at we used to go into, God, what's the name of the place? Like these waterfalls, we like jump off the cliff, and it was such a fun time. So that's one thing that my parents did that was, really good, and making sure we got to experience the world, got to experience like the wonders, I would say the wonders of like the United States that every kid, a lot of families, not all, get to experience. Like if you're fortunate enough to do that, you could do that with your family. So that was one thing that I really enjoyed. I know a lot of you who have watched the 7-part series and you've made it through all the way. Thank you so much for watching all of this. This has been like really hard for me to talk about. I appreciate the support and the kindness that people have been giving me. And some of you are probably like wondering why she's talking about her family, why she's talking about the good, about her family. The reason why I do that, I'm a fair person, and because I have healed and I refuse to let my heart harden and to turn bitter, because I have every right to turn bitter. I have been through some things. I have been through some things that I'm surprised that I'm still standing, but I'm still standing. And there's a goodness that exists in me. And I have to talk about the good as well, just to be fair. It can be hard though with the, talking about the goodness, because it's like, yes, that's something that they were supposed to do. But it's like they only want to focus on the good and that's it. And it's like, no, there was a lot of bad that you did, that if you did more good than bad, then I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here telling the story. I would not be as traumatized. I would not have all this pain. But I continue to tell that side. And another side that the good things that I enjoyed is I enjoyed having Christmas with my family. And that's one thing I struggle with letting go, since I no longer have a relationship with them. And I'm getting through the idea of no longer seeing them as my family. They were my family for a very long time, so it's hard to just cut that off. And yes, I can recognize legally that they are my family, but relationship-wise, they're not family. That's not what family does. They're not my family. But I enjoyed Christmas time with them. I really did. It was a really fun time. My mom decorated the house and made it look so beautiful and so kind. And I know along the series, I've talked about how they've helped me with therapy, so they did a really well job with that. But there's there's a lot of good things that they've done. And the only thing I really wanted from them was just to take accountability for the things that they did and apologize, and to see that they just were not willing to do that. They just rather just say it's all me, that it's all in my head, and manipulation and gaslighting. I was gaslit with my family in a way that I just did not realize how bad it really was until I actually started telling the story. And I saw some of y'all making comments like, wow, it's crazy how you're whispering about your story. It really just tells me how traumatized you really are and where you feel like you have to be careful. And I grew up in a household where it's like, just say, all you have to say is nice things, and that's it. That's what we want to hear about. How great of parents we are, how good of people that we are because we saved you. That's it. And because that was ingrained in me for so long, it's so hard for me to talk about the bad stuff, because I was so gaslit and manipulated that it's hard for me to talk about the bad stuff. But I have to keep talking about the bad stuff. And it's not only helping me release this, but it's also helping other adoptees, because there are adoptees who've reached out. They're like, wow, I experienced that. And it's a conversation that needs to be had, because transracial adoption is not something that's talked about enough, and we need to figure out how to fix that gap. We need to stop the nasty behavior of white people adopting black kids and expecting them to just be grateful while treating them like shit when it comes to stereotypes and all the other stuff. But I thank y'all so much for watching this and believing me and understanding me. You have no idea how much this has helped with my healing. Y'all are so kind. Thank you so much. Even though I've never met any of y'all, y'all are so sweet. I really truly I appreciate y'all. Y'all are just God sent, and I hope nothing but good things for you guys. Thank you.
Wow, please go down in the comment section, share your thought. Love to know what you think about this story time down in the comment section. But please keep it respectful. As always, you guys know how we do it here. We always have a respectful conversation. We disagree, we have our thought, we share our thought. It's a safe space for you to share your thoughts. Okay, so go ahead and share your thought. I don't really have much to say about that, but I do appreciate people that come online to share their story. It's their story. And I feel like it helps other people to hear and also helps them to hear. I'm one of those people. Some people will say, oh, why bring your story to the internet and all that? I'm one of those people that believe that the more we keep talking, especially those hard conversations that usually they don't have, the easier it becomes on the people that are being traumatized, and then they find a way to heal. And if you know I don't know why I call it interracial adoption, but obviously it's being called transracial adoption. If you are in a transracial adoption, can you please share it? You know somebody, can you share a story or something? Because I feel like it might help them. I don't really know much about this, but I know that there are some people that do this. There are some black families that adopt white kids, while there are some white families that adopt black kids. But I find this really interesting, especially she talking about how a parent just wants to hear the good thing. And I know somebody that's why I was saying that the white savior mentality. I personally, I don't want, like, I'm just going to say, I say, when I see white people come to Africa to adopt African children, I know they are helping the child. I know they are helping the child to better this child's life. But I feel like most of the time they come with the savior mentality. And for me, sometimes I look at it with a side eye. But these children needs help and they need help. And it is what it is. But for me, that is what it comes off like a savior mentality. And that's how I see it. But I know not all white people come with the savior mentality. But that's how I come across when I see them come to adopt children from Africa, because there's usually this pity party for Africans and African children and all that, and usually feel like we should be looked down upon. But anyway, guys, please go down in the comment section and share your thoughts. I'd love to know what you think about this story time down in the comment section. If you haven't seen part one, go check out part one. I'll leave it down in the description box. So go check out part one. So with that all said, guys, go ahead and share your thoughts. But please keep it respectful. Share this video with somebody that you want to be part of the conversation, because that's what we do here. We have amazing conversation. So go ahead and share this video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, smash the like button, because this helps YouTube to push out my content for more people to see, and that will be you supporting this channel and this girl here. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Deuces.